Hey, hey, welcome to the Breakthrough series. As you guys that have followed me for a little while know that one of my big missions with this series is to break through the myth that there is such thing as overnight success. We want to show you the behind the scenes of amazing people doing epic things in the world and really dive into their battles and how they've overcome them and then what they're doing now in the world. I'm Meg Church. I am a self-sabotage and relationship repair coach. So I do all the dirty stuff, the dirty work that nobody wants to do. And that's why I love the battle piece so much. So today I have on Molly, who's going to share a little bit about what she does in the world. And we're going to dive into her story. So I'm so excited to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Meg. My story is kind of complicated. I don't know, as anyone's, as you know. I am a nurse by trade. I became a nurse practitioner. I worked in oncology for 12 years. And in the past couple of years, all of my patients were always asking me, what can we do to like be healthier? What should I eat? How should I exercise? And we just never really have time to have those discussions in the actual clinics. And so I kind of dove into the research myself. And I went and got a nutrition certification. I did some lifestyle medicine training, and then I just completed a health and wellness coaching certification. So that's kind of like the educational side of me. But, you know, I've had my own story in having my own struggles with food and struggling with binge eating and just really working to overcome. And really every single day is a recommitment back to myself to work on the struggle and to overcome.
Well, guys, like, did you hear that? Like, coaches have problems too. And that's why we're so passionate about what we do, because the little things that we apply to ourselves are things that we then share with all of you.
Exactly.
So don't think that like we're sitting on pedestals with
No.
issues ever. Every day is just
Yeah, no.
What's fun is, okay, so Molly and I have never officially met like in real life. We met because you listened to my friend Colin's podcast called Thrive Bites. Shout out to Colin.
Yep.
And then you connected with me, and then we just hit it off. And I was on
Yeah.
your podcast.
Yep.
And now I'm having you on my little interview series. So
Yeah.
it's a small world.
Yep. Really fun to find you. And I love like everything that you have to say about like self-sabotage. I know my people are always like asking me like for more tips on self-sabotage and how do I, you know, basically not do that. I think it's always just I was reading, I don't know if you're into Tara Brach. Do you know her?
I'm familiar, but I don't think I've done like a ton of her.
She's like a meditation teacher. She has a podcast. I love all of her work. And one of her quotes that I was reading last night, she said, in the moments that feel the most intolerable are the moments that we probably need to pause and check in with ourselves. So I think it's getting, feeling those hard feelings and not always running to the pantry closet or the freezer or whatever to numb those feelings and learning how to feel, learning how to be with yourself and knowing that those feelings are going to pass. It's not going to be like that forever.
So you were saying that you have struggled with binge eating. You've struggled with like body stuff. So what does that look like? Because I like the real dirty, like tell it what like it really is. Don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
Type of talk, because so many people feel so shameful. I was one of those people too.
Yeah.
Who actually share their struggle. And what happens is they stay in that self-sabotaging struggle that feels like this hamster wheel you can't get off.
Yeah.
So what did that look like for you?
So, I grew up, I played sports. I was always like just pretty like that lean sort of body type. But I do remember like, my favorite pie is French silk pie. I don't know if you all have that, but like in Texas, they did not have that. But in the Midwest, we do.
Yep.
And I remember just like eating like piece after piece, like as a kid. And just like weird things. Like I remember I used to, I think one of my friends at school did this. I saw her do it and I was like, oh, I'm going to do that. So she like her mom would pack her chips and she would crush the chips up in her bag. And it's this like sort of way to like feel like you're getting more. So it's like that abundance versus scarcity mindset.
Yep.
And so for me, you know, I didn't really think of anything like as a kid. I had like a pretty normal upbringing. My parents are married. They're both pretty supportive. I have two brothers. We actually joke that my scarcity thing comes from my brothers because my mom used to bring home cereal and it would be gone like that day. And so like I had to like scavenge to get like my share of it.
Yep.
But anyways, so in my 20s, I did like all the things. I did Weight Watchers. I trained for half marathons. I did Beachbody. I just did like all the things that the world tells us we should be doing and didn't really think twice about it. Just like thought that's what I needed to do until, so I have 3 kids. And after my second baby, I discovered macros, which is like protein, carbs, and fat, like eating in that sort of way. And it was like a light kind of went off and like, oh, when I eat these like really whole nutrient dense foods, I feel full and satisfied and I'm not spending all my mental energy like wondering what I'm going to eat next or like where my next sweet fix is going to come from. And I really found that when I was focusing on those things, I was able to zoom the lens out and give energy to things I actually cared about other than just food. And then another piece of it was I had started so I did the macros piece for a portion of it. And then there was a time in my life where I was like, I don't want to count another thing. So I think macros is helpful just to start kind of understanding like what foods your body like feels best on. But it came to a place where I was like, I don't want to count anymore. So then I transitioned to more intuitive mindfulness eating around food. And I'll never forget the therapist I was seeing at the time told me like going to the closet and like just like eating all the food, that's not about the food. That's about like this disconnection from yourself because something is going on. You don't want to tolerate that feeling. So that's what you're doing instead. But that doesn't actually solve the problem, right? This is just like a vehicle that we use to numb the feelings out. And then usually when you're like just eating something as fast as you can, like there's no presence to it. You're not even really tasting it. It's just like this like really fast, like shoving food down your throat for better words. Because you're like worried that you aren't going to get it again. So it's like restrict yourself, binge, feel guilty about it, start the diet over the next day. And starting the diet over the next day is just like this feeling that we like cling on to for like instant gratification of like, oh, well, I'm hopeful that tomorrow's going to be different.
Yep. I'm going to be a different person tomorrow.
And so anyways, what I ended up doing was I really started digging in when I wanted to like go to the pantry closet or the freezer and eat all the ice cream, like what else was going on in those moments? For me, a lot of it was like, either I was like alone with my kids, which kids are just like demanding, and especially the little ones. So, and you know, I love them to pieces, but like there was a piece of it that was like, I'm not enough for them, or I can't get to all their needs. So there was that. And then also just learning how to be by myself and be comfortable with that. So like learning that it's okay to like not always have someone around me. My husband's like very good at like his like independent and like his me time that he needs. I'm like the opposite. I'm like a people person. I want to be around people all the time.
Are you more of an extrovert then, more than an introvert?
I'm like a combo. I'm an ambivert.
Okay.
So I'm very like extroverted when I know you and in small settings. But if it's a big group, like I'm not gonna like go into like meeting everyone. Like I'm gonna like clam up a bit. But learning like different ways to take care of myself that wasn't food. So like I just had our third baby, but there was a time period when I would get home from work and I would just be so tired and exhausted. And my husband just knew, like, we would eat dinner and then he would watch the other two and I would go upstairs and like take a bath and relax. Like, so finding other ways to take care of myself than food. I love to like read now. So like I leave my phone downstairs and when the kids are in bed, like I bust out my book to read. I made a playlist that's like very like energizing for when I need to like change the thoughts in my mind. I don't know. I could probably talk about this forever, but
no, I mean, I think that these are things that people can use, because for real, when something starts to take over you and you feel like a crazy person, like, you need to like regain your sanity around something that, like, for people that have never struggled with this, they're like, guys, it's just food.
Yeah.
When you've struggled, it literally consumes your world. Until you get like free from it.
Right. Yeah. So like my playlist has over, I think, 200 songs by now. Because whenever I hear something that's like inspiring to me or moves me, like I'm adding that to the playlist. And that takes you out of your head and it takes you more into your body. There was another idea that my friend Allison Tinney told me about. So this one, she called it mindful mapping. So when you get like that anxiety or that urge to like binge or whatever, you bust out a piece of paper and get some fun markers and you close your eyes and you doodle with your breath. So it's really interesting because if you do just like up and down scrolls for breathing in and breathing out, you can literally see on the paper your nervous system like starting to relax, because it starts like really small and then your breaths get longer because you're focusing on them. And I think the more that you can move out of your head and into your body, the easier it gets. And I'm not saying like you're not ever going to mess up or it's not going to be a struggle, but the more tools you have in your arsenal, so to say, that you can get to or use when you're feeling that way, your brain is going to remember those, and then you're going to be able to like more quickly get back to yourself.
I don't know. Have you ever heard of this one? This is something that I use a lot, and it's something actually that comes from anyone that's recovered from anything, but it's super helpful. I think I've been using it with clients and stuff for like 10 years, where in myself when I was big time struggling in this, but have you heard of the acronym HALT?
Is this hungry, angry, lonely, tired?
So basically, you were talking about the whole awareness piece, and that's a piece that's like the number one. You have to be aware that there's something going on and actually say, hey, yo, I got a problem. It's okay. Just because I have a problem doesn't mean it's going to be forever. But so when you do catch yourself in it, like mid bag of the chips or whatever it is, to catch yourself, and HALT is an acronym. So H, I always say the H is either hungry or hormonal. For the hormonal, especially for women, if you have this crazy, like your body's telling you need more food, but you don't need to binge. So catching yourself and really asking yourself, like, hey, am I really hungry, or am I just mindlessly grazing? And then A is angry, or any other type of emotion, I think can fall into that category. If you're mad, are you trying to sink that down with food? L is lonely, which you were kind of saying that was one of the ones too when you were around the kiddos, like, and not being able to do all the things, you have your own time. And then T is tired. So all of those things, usually it falls into one of those or all of those. And so if you can catch yourself midway through, then that's already a step in the right direction.
100%. And I think, it's not that you're not going to have the binges or the mess ups, but that awareness piece is everything. Because the more aware you are, the more you can come up with like, okay, when X starts happening, I have these tools as to other things I can do. Or even going for a walk for 10 minutes, like resets your brain. I think it's also helpful to have like somebody who's kind of like your accountability buddy for like when you start feeling like this. Like I call my friend so-and-so and they kind of talk me through it. Like I'll do that with my husband. I'll be like, I feel like I want to eat the entire house. Like help me through this. And we like just like talk about what's going on, what would make it better, okay, what do you want to do about it?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think a lot of these things that you've been saying are how you've been able to break up. Like I always say, the breakup with the bully, and the bully isn't always an outside person. It can be, but it's more the internal bully that's trying to tell you that you're not enough, or that you're always going to eat like this, or there's not enough food, the scarcity mindset, or, whatever it is, whether or not it's like, when you're dealing with all of your kiddos at the same time, oh, I'm not enough for them. Like I need another one of me able to do all the things. And I think being able to recognize the why behind it, the roots to it, is going to also help propel you forward. And being able to have those little strategy plans intact is also really, really good. So how do you feel like binging is for you now? Like, is it something that happens? Is it more grazing? I think just being open and honest with that and what that looks like now compared to what it used to look like.
Yeah. So, and again, I think your, like the point of these sessions and saying like, it's not an overnight success, like it's not. So if you've been doing something some way for X many years, like it's not going to happen overnight, but the quicker you can catch yourself, the quicker you can recommit to yourself. I don't want to say it's easier, but it is, that awareness is a piece that changes things. So I'm not ever going to sit here and tell you like, oh yeah, I never binge eat, because sometimes I still do, but I have a lot different relationship with it. And like, I can like sense when things are like picking up, or like I'm feeling anxious about something. And so say the binge does happen. So what do I do? So I used to just like berate myself, and I would be like, can't believe you did that again. Just like all of the mean things that the bully says. But when I really got into Tara Brach's work, she really talks about giving yourself like grace and compassion and talking to yourself like you would talk to a small child, an animal, your best friend, whatever it is, because you would never talk to those people like that. And so I think it's just so important to change that relationship into how you're treating yourself, because they've actually done studies and found people who berate themselves after whatever happens, they do not recover as quickly as people who like are kind to themselves. And the other piece I like to do is like ask myself like, what happened when that was going on, either right before, hours leading up to it, whatever. Because we all have stresses and demands in our lives that like affect us like this, and our willpower diminishes as the day goes on and you're tired. So using that strategy for one, just being kind to myself. 2, asking myself what happened. That's a thing that the bully does not like to do. The bully doesn't like to go back and reflect and like see what was happening that you could change. And then from there, like you can come up with a couple of ideas of the next time this happens, I have a couple of strategies that I can try. And you know what? They might work and they might hold me. And then there's other days where maybe sometimes a binge happens, but that's just life. It's just the imperfection of life, and it's learning how to be imperfect and move forward with action.
Do you think with the COVID and everything going on with quarantine and also holiday times, that brings out even more binging and more irregular food patterns and body shaming and just self-hatred right before we get into a new year?
Of course, because all of a sudden your routine has been changed. All of a sudden, it's the holidays. The other thing that I feel so passionately about is the foods that are around right now in the holidays. It's the fudge, it's the truffles, it's the sugar cookies, it's the peanut butter cookies. Like, it's a bunch of food that has tons of sugar in it, salt and fat. And those things are hyper palatable foods. Our brains are literally made to crave them. Like, the chip companies will literally put people in MRI brain machines when they come out with a new product, because they want to make sure that their pleasure center is lighting up. So I like intuitive eating, but I'm sorry, you cannot intuitively eat. these foods that are hyper palatable. And so that's where I think the mindfulness piece really comes in. Knowing like what your limits are, knowing what you want to make your own rules for around those foods. There's lots of different, there's a lot of different mindfulness techniques you can use for those times. And also like just like relaxing a little bit around the holidays, like knowing those foods are going to be around. Like maybe your aunt always makes a cheesecake and it's once a year. So let's not white knuckle our way through like not having the cheesecake because it's something I really enjoy. So there's also this satisfaction factor to food.
Yep.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that and then to use mindfulness techniques when you decide when it's worth it, because you have the power to control what the stimulus and then what the response is going to be.
Well,
food.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
This food is here. This food also makes me like maybe more anxious. It makes me want to eat more of it. It's not very satisfying for me. So you get to decide, is this a time when it's worth it for me? And I'm maybe going to have like a couple of bites and then I'm going to like go do something else because otherwise I'm just going to think about that. Or maybe you don't want to feel that way. And so maybe you pass on it. But it's not all or nothing. And you get to kind of decide how you want to feel.
Yeah, because I feel like when you do go to a holiday party, whether or not it's for work or your family or whatever, if you have food anxiety and you are not trusting yourself, like, oh my gosh, if I have some of this, is it going to lead to this domino effect where I, enjoy the entire pie later on tonight or something? Then that's not giving yourself the present moment to stay in. Essentially, you're thinking of the consequences. You're thinking of it's making it too much decision based versus just being present. And if you know that you're not going to have that, but one time a year or whatever, just be present and enjoy it. Quit telling yourself it's toxic. Why are you consuming it? Because what do you think your body's going to do? It's going to say, oh crap, let's send stuff out inside your body to attack this because you've told us it's toxic. But I also think that I know that how your energy is portrayed out into the world is based off of what you consume. So if you know that you've eaten fast food 3 days in a row and you feel like crap, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Like there's a clue right there for you. So you can consume things that make you more energetic. You can consume things that make you want to show up and be present with your partner, with your kids and all that. So how do you go back and forth between allowing yourself to enjoy like during the holiday time, but also making sure that you have the energy that you want to have out in the world with your husband, with your kiddos, with your family?
Yeah. So I've always said like I used every system until I figured out my own system. People want autonomy. People want to be able to decide for themselves what is best for them. So I can share my strategy with you, but whoever's listening, like you get your own strategy too. And, I think it also comes with recognizing like motivation is going to come and go. So let's just like stop pretending that that's something we can rely on versus like for me, there's like a couple of things I do every day, like no matter what, because I know those make me feel really good. And those allow me to show up differently to my spouse, kids, people I work with, whatever. So, my podcast is called The 4 M's, and the 4 M's are the things I try to focus on every day. So the first one is macros, or just like mindfulness with eating. So that's like making sure that I'm getting lots of protein, lots of fiber at all my meals, because I know that those are the things that fill me up. They keep me satisfied. They help balance hormones. They don't leave me like super craving, all of that. And so for example, like maybe Christmas dinner is going to be like more indulgent than the dinners I'm used to. So maybe for breakfast, I have like a big bowl of oatmeal with like fruit, flax, and chia, maybe some nut butter. And then maybe for lunch, I grab like a salad kit and put some protein on there. 2 out of 3 meals is like pretty good for the holidays to be eating like the nutrient dense food. And then I'm also going to allow myself to have a portion of whatever it is that's like a little bit more indulgent on Christmas. Like I'm going to make a creme brulee cheesecake. It's going to be delicious. I don't make it every week. So I'm going to enjoy it. And what that looks like is like really being present, feet on the floor, at the table, putting your fork down between bites, engaging your senses to actually taste it, not rushing through it, just really savoring the moment. And I think the more that we can savor the moment, the more the obsession piece of it kind of settles down. Because obsession and presence like don't really go together, you know?
Yep.
So the more present you can be, the more of those sorts of activities that you can work on with yourself, I think the better. I also try to do movement of some form every single day. So, and I do like 3-week builds and then 1 week off. So for 3 weeks, I will run 2 days. I'll do spin classes twice a week. And then I do strength training twice a week. And then usually like a yoga or something. I do that for 3 weeks. And then for a week, I just let my body rest. Walking and yoga. And then I just kind of rinse and repeat that cycle. But movement for me helps me shift like my brain and my thoughts and everything like that. We know it's so good for our brains, our bodies, just everything. So that's a good energy shift for me. Meditating is really important to me. So like 10 to 15 minutes every day. There's so many apps now that you can use that are free. I have a Peloton and they have meditation. So I really like their meditations. And, you know, just like also acknowledging there's like different kinds of meditation. So like you don't have to just be like stuck with just like one of like listening to your breath over and over and wondering like, when am I going to feel different? You know, it's like little deposits every day that change for the bigger picture. And then, so macros, mindfulness, movement, meditation. So the other piece is just like the mindfulness piece. When I'm not being mindful, just bringing that awareness back in, trying to get back to myself. I mean, one thing I really try to ask myself when I'm getting like anxious, because that's probably like the one I struggle with the most, is just like, what do you actually need right now? So just checking in with yourself and asking yourself that. If it's food, ask yourself the question again. I mean, sometimes we are hungry. And one way to like kind of decipher, does my body actually need food, is like you can ask yourself like, am I hungry? Like, am I hungry enough that I would eat like a piece of grilled chicken or grilled fish or whatever? If the answer is no, dig deeper and see what else you need right now. Do you need a break? Do you need some time to just like go right by yourself? Do you need a nap? Like, do you need a rest? Like, meditation is so important because it's like this fourth state of consciousness where it allows your brain that rest. It allows you to like see your thoughts passing by you instead of consuming you. It allows you to zoom the lens out. It's restful. It's like re-energizing.
Yeah, I always call meditation. I used to call it naked time. Like you're naked. I mean, you can be physically naked if you want to be. That way, you really don't have to do anything. But like, you can't answer the door if you're naked. I mean,
yeah.
But I mean, you're really naked of who you feel like you have to be, and you're just inside of who you actually are. You're naked, and you're authentically you, and giving yourself a break, and it taps you back into your parasympathetic system versus being in that anxious, sympathetic fight or flight mentality. So it's not. I feel like meditation gets a bad rap. Like it's like woo woo. It doesn't have to be woo woo. It's actually a great, like, if you don't have time to take a nap, meditate. Like,
there's so much science behind meditation, and just, I mean, I was reading recently, like, the thing that makes human beings unique compared to other like species that we like coincide with is like everyone has the fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system like ramping up, that anxious, that like, oh my god, I need to go eat right now feeling. But what humans have is the pause and plan as well. So that pause is just like the most crucial piece that you could develop for yourself for when you want to go eat, go drink, whatever, like shopping, like whatever thing you're struggling with. If you pause in that moment and see what you actually need, that's so helpful and powerful.
Versus going and distracting yourself and self-sabotaging.
Yep.
Okay, so we've gone through the battle. We've gone through like breakthrough strategies from the bully. So who have you become and who are you becoming now?
I love that question. So I would say, I think this kind of goes back to your why that we were talking about earlier. Like, it is just so important to ask yourself, like, why are these things so important to you? If it's because like someone else just wants you to do like XYZ, like that's just not really going to stick because that's not autonomous to what you want.
Yep.
So for me, what is so important to me is to be able to show up for my husband, my kids, my parents. I have 2 brothers, my work colleagues, like all of that's super important to me. And at the same time, I know that if I'm doing my 4 M's, I just like made those up one day. If I'm doing those, I feel pretty good.
Yep.
And when I'm not doing them, my husband's like, do you need to go for a run or something? Do you need to go take some alone time? Because I will allow you to go do that, you know? So I think it's just that who I'm becoming piece. Like, I just want to be someone who shows up for her kids, for her spouse, for her colleagues, for her parents. And I want to do it in a very authentic way that is true to me. So not being as concerned about like what's true to everyone else.
Yep.
And then just every day, like working on little things to make myself better. So for example, I was bringing my phone to bed with me for the longest period of time. And it was like a time suck. It was an energy suck. I don't have problems sleeping, but I was finding myself just scrolling like social media. So again, it goes back to the awareness piece of like, what is it? Like, where are you and where do you want to go?
Yep.
So for me, I didn't want to just like be wasting my time like scrolling social media every night. So that's what prompted the change to like leave the phone downstairs when we put the kids to bed and bring a book to bed. People always act like they don't have time for anything. And I agree that time is like our most like finite like resource. However, if you pick like 3 things that you can just like prioritize of like what's important to you, you can chisel away like a little bit at a time. You don't need to overhaul your life and do 10 habits all at once. Just start with 1. Just start with 2.
And I think that's the thing that people discredit the most. They think it has to be this all or nothing perfect mentality, or else why even try? But if you just do those little things that bring out the best in you versus stress in you, and you do them consistently, that's going to compound over time.
Yep.
And so don't discredit the small stuff. But
the small stuff is honestly the big stuff. And I know that's so hard to grasp when it feels like either things are out of control or like you just like can't figure it out. But honestly, just keeping like one little promise to yourself for a couple of weeks, months, and then just adding on from there.
Well, you have some big exciting news to offer people on what's coming. So share that with everybody.
Yeah. So I'm going to be launching a course. It's called More Than Macros. We'll have 4 modules in it. Oh, sorry. We're launching it in January, but for your viewers, it's going live today. And they can use the code SLEIGH, SLEIGH 15. I usually give 10% off. I'm going to give your people 15% off because it's the holidays. So they can use that code. But it's basically an 8-week course. And this is a founding member sort of deal where it will never be this inexpensive again, but this group of people will get to stay in the course as we add on to it, as we add more products to it. And the course itself will be 4 different modules. The first one will be on macros, just like how to do them, how to set your own, how to adjust them, all the things. And then the second one will be about willpower. How do I get more of it? The third one is on movement. How much do I actually need? What should I be doing? How do I structure my movement sort of schedule? And then the fourth one is on mindfulness with eating. They will have access to a private Facebook community group where I'll be going live, answering all the questions and answers, and there will be some bonuses in there. So yeah, we're really excited. Like I said, we're putting it is for sale today, and then we're launching on January 7th, I believe.
Whoop, whoop. That's exciting.
January 8th. I said the day wrong.
I felt like you told me the 8th.
Yeah.
Maybe she's doing it. I don't know.
January 8th. So yeah.
Well, guys, also, I'm going to give a shout out to her. Like, check out her podcast too. So
The podcast is the 4M's with Molly, and we talk all about meal prep for the busy mom, self-sabotage. Meg was on there. We did Enneagram stuff. We do just a bunch of different things that are so applicable to the busy and working mom. And then on Instagram, you can find me at Unsinkable Molly NP.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun.
Yeah, role reversal. You're in the hot seat.
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, guys, go check it out. Check out her upcoming course, her podcast, Stay Connected. I, again, want to keep bringing awesome people on here. So you've got an arsenal of amazing teachers, coaches to help you get out of your own way. We love you, and we will chat with you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.